Bookless classroom. A little noisy here. Hold on. Sit down. Sit down. Right now. Sit. Sit. Sit down. Right now. Get in there and sit. Be quiet. Okay. I am here, Dr. Annette. Whoop, whoop. December 30th here in the classroom. It is day 291, and that's all I've been saying. It's like just a flood of these weirdo thoughts, and not in that bad weirdo way. It's like, where'd you get that weirdo thought from? Hey, honey. Hi. Hey, little Lucy. Hey, little Lucy. Okay, let's get to our book, which is Black Looks. And I have coffee breath, and I can't stand that. I'm not chewing gum nearly as much as I used to. Remember that when back in the free days of chewing gum? And I gotta sit here and worry about it in my dental work and beyond, and my non-dental work. What a nice gift. They got a whole giant TV. What'd I get? Etsy cards I gave before that they saved for me. How they're not expired, I don't know. I like Etsy a lot. But you can't use $100 on Etsy. It's going to take me 2 years. Unless I buy things I really, really don't need. Like, I could use a sewing machine, but it doesn't have the one I want on Etsy. Big purchase. There is one for $1,000. Okay. The title of this chapter is Selling Hot Pussy. From Bell Hooks, Representations of Black Female Sexuality in the Cultural Marketplace. And this is so sex trafficking, right? Did we figure out when this was written? 1992. According to postmodern analysis of fashion, this is a time when commodities produce bodies as this image of Ross suggests. In her essay, Fashion and the Cultural Logic of Postmodernity, Gail Forshew explains that beauty is no longer seen as a sustained category of pre-capitalist culture. Instead, the colonization and appropriation of the body as its own production consumption machine in late capitalism is a fundamental theme of contemporary socialization. Yeah, except for the body is always about capitalism. It is number one. This cultural shift enables the bodies of black women to be represented in certain domains of the beautiful where they were once denied entry, i.e., high fashion magazines. Reinscribed as spectacle, once again on display, the bodies of black women appearing in these magazines are not there to document the beauty of black skin, of black bodies, but rather to call attention to other concerns. They're represented so readers will notice that the magazine is racially inclusive, even though their features are often distorted, their bodies contorted into strange and bizarre postures that make the images appear monstrous or grotesque. I don't know what images they're talking about. They seem to represent an anti-aesthetic, one that mocks the very notion of beauty. Now, I have seen that, right? But, it is my body on larger scale. You know what I'm saying? Often black female models appear in portraits that make them look less like humans and more like mannequins or robots. Concurrently, black models whose hair is not straightened are often photographed wearing straight wigs. This seems to be especially the case if the model's features are unconventional, if she has large lips or particularly dark skin, which is not often featured in the magazine. The October 1989 issue of Elle presented a short profile of designer Azendine Alea. He stands at a distance from a black female body holding the sleeves of her dress. Wearing a ridiculous straight hairdo, she appears naked, holding the dress in front of her body. The caption reads, "They are beautiful, aren't they?" His critical gaze is on the model, not the dress. As commentary, it suggests that even black women can look beautiful in the right outfit. Of course, when you read the piece, this statement is not referring to the model, but is a statement Alea makes about his clothes. In contemporary postmodern fashion sense, the black female is the best medium for showing of clothes because her image does not detract from the outfit. It is subordinated. Years ago, when much fuss was made about the reluctance of fashion magazines to include images of black women, it was assumed that the presence of such representations would in and of themselves challenge racist stereotypes that imply black women are not beautiful. Nowadays, black women are included in magazines in a manner that tends to reinscribe prevailing stereotypes. But what else would they do? Come on, seriously, you're in magazines. What else do you think they're going to do? Darker skinned models are most likely to appear in photographs where their features are distorted. Biracial women tend to appear in sexualized images. Trendy catalogs like Tues and J. Crew make use of a racialized subtext in their layout and advertisements. Usually they are emphasizing the connection between a white European and American style. When they began to include darker skinned models, they chose biracial or fair skinned black women, particularly with blonde or light brown long hair. And this I clearly remember. So, there were magazines, but men weren't going to buy magazines, but they would buy magazines that did feature clothing, right? And styles. White men were not going to compete with the Egyptian style black men that would have been required to sell those clothes, or that they would have wanted, right, for those clothes. So no, thanks for the competition. And it says it right here. The non-white models appearing in these catalogs must resemble as closely as possible their white counterparts so as not to detract from the racialized subtext. A recent cover of Tues carried this statement: "Color is perhaps one of the most important barometers of character and self-assurance. It is as much a part of the international language of clothes as silhouette. The message colors convey, however, should never overwhelm. They should speak as eloquently and intellectually as the wearer. Whenever colors have that intelligence, subtlety, and nuance, we tend to call them European. And this is a nuance about everything. Give it a nuance about everything, right? So there's a nuance about good behavior, bad behavior, sexual behavior, right? As well as about sexuality. I say even and intellect, eloquence, class, intellect. What do you think J. Crew wants to convey? The problem is that you can convey that in any color. So what's the subtext of what they want to convey? Which is exactly what this is saying. That you clearly can, and this has been so pronounced, where you can only convey the message in one way. Lucy, stop it. Sit down right now. Hey, sit down. Don't you bark. No more. You've had your barks all day. Given the racialized terminology evoked in this copy, it follows that when flesh is exposed in attire that is meant to evoke sexual desirability, it is worn by a non-white model. As sexist, racist sexual mythology would have it, she is the embodiment of the best of the black female savage, tempered by those elements of whiteness that softens this image, giving it an aura of virtue and innocence. In the racialized pornographic imagination, she is the perfect combination of virgin and whore, the ultimate vamp. The impact of this image is so intense that Iman, a highly paid black fashion model who once received worldwide acclaim because she was the perfect black clone of a white ice goddess beauty, has had to change. Postmodern notions that black female beauty is constructed, not innate or inherent, are personified by the career of Iman. Lucy, sit down and quiet. I said sit down. Sit. That's enough of your whining. You're going to go in the bedroom. Stop it. Sit. I know. You can come over here and sit by me if you want. Come here. Come and sit by Mama. Sit down, I said, in your basket, or you can sit here. Licking your chops like those are pork chops out there. Postmodern notions that black female beauty is noted in the past for features this culture sees as Caucasian, thin nose, lips, and limbs. Iman appeared in the October 1989 issue of Vogue Made Over. Her lips and breasts are suddenly full. Having once had her look destroyed by a car accident and then remade, Iman now goes a step further. Displayed as the embodiment of a heightened sexuality, she now looks like the racial sexual stereotype. In one full-page shot, she is naked, wearing only a pair of brocade boots, looking as though she is ready to stand on any street corner and turn a trick, or worse yet, as though she just walked off one of the pages of Players, a porn magazine for blacks. Iman's new image appeals to a culture that is eager to reinscribe the image of black women as sexual primitive. This new representation is a response to contemporary fascination with an ethnic look, with the exotic other who promises to fulfill racial and sexual stereotypes to satisfy longings. This image is but an extension of the edible black tit, which was the breast, which I said they're just chocolate. But, you know, in a world that's sexualized, that they are not. And so you can see a perspective of a black woman. They're not your color tits. Yeah, I wouldn't want to eat those, right? I mean, I would want to eat mine. Only because they would be more caramel. Jesus Christ. Tinted in color, right? I'd have a little bit more brown to it. So that would be deliciousness. Of course. I've always said it. Not saying anything I haven't said before. Currently in the fashion world, a new black female icon who is also gaining greater notoriety as she assumes both the persona of sexually hot savage and white identified black girl is a Caribbean model, Naomi Campbell. Imported beauty, she, like Iman, is almost constantly visually portrayed nearly nude against a sexualized background, abandoning her natural hair for blonde wigs or ever-lightening weaves. She has great crossover appeal, labeled by fashion critics as the Black Bridget Bardot. She embodies an aesthetic that suggests black women, while appealingly different, must resemble white women to be considered really beautiful. And this is where it becomes a tribal thing, not in that primitive kind of way, but in the fact that you're drawing distinctions, right? And then why aren't you more like? Then all of a sudden you are like, you become the conduit for black women who are simply being more sexualized. No, I was the conduit for black women. No, you're the conduit for black women who are just more sexualized. I think that's why Iman got out of the business. Stayed on the fringes more. And it's why Naomi Campbell didn't have to. And it's why Naomi Campbell didn't have to. Chapter 1, her message and perspective is different. Wish those cards weren't on Etsy. I wish they were on eBay. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still thinking about that. Stop it. With literature and early film, the sanitized ethnic image was defined as that of the tragic mulatto. Appearing in film, she was the vamp with white men feared. As Julie Burchill puts it outrageously in Girls on Film, in the mature 40s, Hollywood decided to get to grips with the meaty and messy topic of multiracial romance, but it was a morbid business. Even when the girls were gorgeous white girls, multiracial romance brought tears, traumas, and suicide. The message was clear. You intelligent white men suffer enough guilt because of what your granddaddy did. You want to suffer some more? Keep away from those girls. Contemporary films portraying biracial stars convey this message. The warning for women is different from that given men. We are given messages about the danger of asserting sexual desire. Clearly, the message from Imitation of Life was that attempting to define oneself as sexual subject would lead to rejection and abandonment. In the film Choose Me, Ray Dawn Chung plays the role of the highly sexual black woman chasing and seducing the white man who does not desire her, as was first implied in Imitation of Life, but instead uses her sexually, beats her, then discards her. The biracial black woman is constantly gaslighted in contemporary film. The message her sexualized image conveys does not change, even as she continues to chase the white man as if only he had the power to affirm that she is truly desirable. European films like Mephisto and the more recent Mona Lisa also portray the almost white black woman as tragically sexual. The women in the films can only respond to constructions of their reality created by the more powerful. They are trapped. Mona Lisa's struggle to be sexually self-defining leads her to choose lesbianism even though she is desired by the white male hero. Yet her choice of a female partner does not mean sexual fulfillment, as the object of her lust is a drug-addicted young white woman who is always too messed up to be sexual. Mona Lisa nurses and protects her. Rather than asserting sexual agency, she is once again in the role of mammy. My throat is raw. In the more recent film, The Virgin Machine, a white German woman obsessed by the longing to understand desire goes to California where she hopes to find a paradise of black Amazons. However, when she arrives and checks out the lesbian scene, the black women she encounters are portrayed as mean, fat, grotesque, lewd, and licentious. Contemporary films continue to place black women in two categories, mammy or slut, and occasionally a combination of the two. In Mona Lisa, one scene serves as powerful commentary on the way black sexuality is perceived in a racist and imperialist social context. The white male who desires the black prostitute, Mona Lisa, is depicted as a victim of romantic love who wishes to rescue her from a life of ruin. Yet he is also the conqueror, the colonizer, and this is the most evident in the scene where he watches a video wherein she engages in fellatio with the black male pimp who torments her. Both the black man and the black woman are presented as available for the white male's sexual consumption. In the context of postmodern sexual practice, the masturbatory, voyeuristic, technologically based fulfillment of desire is more exciting than actually possessing any real other. And that is right there where the power of the pussy flips. Right there. And maybe black women have known it for a lot longer. I don't know. But in the context of postmodern sexual practice, the masturbatory, voyeuristic, technologically based fulfillment of desire. So you think about the pornographic availability, technologically based right? She needs to look hotter. Those porno films present women looking really shoddy. Because they are. Because they were. It's, I watched a very small amount of porn, enough to say this is degrading. This absolutely, and no doubt about it, it's degrading. I mean, for the most part in the industry, right? There was one, but it was like total Grecian formula with no homosexual pornography. So for a chick, you know, but long enough to know it's degrading on every scale. Because that was actually so realistic, it looks like they took the camera in some whatever. Everybody at the toga party. There are a few films on television shows that attempt to challenge assumptions that sexual relationships between black women and white men are not based solely on power relationships, which mirror master-slave paradigms. Years ago, when soap operas first tried to portray romantic sexual involvement between a black woman and a white man, the station received so many letters of protest from outraged viewers that they dropped this plot. Today, many viewers are glued to the television screen watching the soap opera All My Children, primarily to see if the black woman played by Debbie Morgan will win the white man she so desperately loves. Oh, I remember that. These two lovers are never portrayed in bedroom scenes so common now in daytime soaps. Morgan's character is competing not just with an old white woman flame to get her white man, she is competing with the notion of family. And the story possesses the question of whether white male desire for black flesh will prevail over commitments to blood and family loyalty. Despite this plot of interracial sexual romance on the soaps, there is, and was that also Jessie? Then they stopped with the Jessie thing. But there was the young black girl who was the first one. I remember that. Despite the plot of interracial sexual romance on the soaps, there is little public discussion of the connections between race and sexuality. In real life, it was the Miss America pageant where a black woman was chosen to represent beauty and thereby desirability, which forced a public discussion of race and sex. When it was revealed that Vanessa Williams, the fair-skinned, straightened hair beauty, had violated the representation of the Miss America girl as pure and virtuous by having posed nude in a series of photographs showing her engaged in sexual play with the white woman, she lost her crown but gained a different status. After her public disgrace, she was able to remain in the limelight by appropriating the image of sexualized vamp and playing sexy roles in films. Unmasked by a virtuous white public, she assumed, according to their standards, the rightful erotic place set aside for black women in the popular imagination. She assumed the rightful erotic place set aside for black women in the popular. She was an actress. She assumed her place as an actress. And to make a living, because that was the way she made a living. If they want, an Irish clown, they're not going to pick me. Even though I could make an argument. The American public that had so brutally critiqued Williams and rejected her had no difficulty accepting and applauding her when she accepted the image of fallen woman. Again, in the case of Tina Turner, Williams' bid for continued success necessitated her acceptance of conventional racist, sexist representations of black female sexuality. And I have a big question mark there. I'll probably leave it just like that instead of highlighting. Because what's a gal to do? But that's basically what they said. Williams' bid for continued success necessitated her acceptance of conventional racist, sexist representations of black female sexuality. And that's what I think has happened. I think that black people have stepped out of any role like that pretty much. A few people who you can, fault them or whatever. Everybody's got a job to do, right? And sometimes it's to set an example of what you shouldn't do. Sometimes. The contemporary film that has most attempted to address the issue of black female sexual agency is Spike Lee's She's Gotta Have It. Sad to say, the black woman does not get it. By the end of the film, she is unable to answer the critical question posed by one of her lovers as he rapes her. Whose pussy is this? Reworded, the question might be, how and when will black females assert sexual agency in ways that liberate us from the confines of colorized desire, of racist, sexist imagery and practice? Had Nola Darling been able to claim her sexuality and name its power, the film would have had a very different impact. There are few films that explore issues of black female sexuality in ways that intervene and disrupt conventional representations. The short film Dreaming Rivers by the British black film collective Sankofa juxtaposes the idealized representation of black women as mother with that of sexual subject, showing adult children facing their narrow notions of black female identity. The film highlights the autonomous sexual identity of a mature black woman, which exists apart from her role as mother and caregiver. Passion of Remembrance, another film by Sankofa, offers exciting new representations of the black female body and black female sexuality. In one playful erotic scene, two young black women, a lesbian couple, get dressed to go out. As part of their celebratory preparations, they dance together, painting their lips, looking at their images in the mirror, exulting in their black female bodies. They shake to a song that repeats the refrain, "Let's get loose," without conjuring images of a rot's gut colonized sexuality on display for the racist sexist imagination. Their pleasure, the film suggests, emerges in a decolonized erotic context rooted in commitments to feminist and anti-racist politics. When they look in the mirror and focus on specific body parts, their full, thick lips and buttocks, the gaze is one of recognition. We see their pleasure and delight in themselves. Films by African American women filmmakers also offer the most oppositional images of black female sexuality. Seeing for a second time Kathleen Collins' film, Losing Ground, I was impressed by their daring the way she portrays black female sexuality in a way that is fresh and exciting. Like Passion of Remembrance, it is a domestic setting where black women face one another in Collins' film as mother and daughter. That exotic images of black female sexuality surface outside a context of domination and exploitation. When daughter and mother share a meal, the audience watches as a radical sexual aesthetics emerges as the camera moves from woman to woman, focusing on the shades and textures of their skin, the shapes of their body, and the way their delight and pleasure in themselves is evident in their environment. Both black women discreetly flaunt a rich, sensual, erotic energy that is not directed outward. It is not there to allure or entrap. It is a powerful declaration of black female sexual subjectivity. When black women relate to our bodies, our sexuality in ways that place erotic recognition, desire, pleasure, and fulfillment at the center of our efforts to create radical black female subjectivity, we can make new and different representations of ourselves as sexual subjects. I'm just going to say, it's always been my feeling about sexuality. I discussed it all the way through the Love and Sex in the 21st Century, which focused very little on sex and very much on love. And as far as sexuality goes, I should be able to, I'll tell you, I remember I saw a picture within the last year of an album cover, and I was like, that's me. And I remember trying to put a beautiful face on Black women, and it was something like wearing this. It was like wearing this, I think she had something like this shirt on, and this, her hair wrapped up. And she looked amazing, like amazing. And I was like, you know, I was very tan at the time, and I was like, I was gonna imitate that look. And so I wrapped up my hair, and my husband and I were going out in that, and whoo, girl, did I look hot. And I could not walk from the doorway to our table without feeling like I was a lamb chop. I had to take the thing out of my hair. I had to take it out of my hair. Just that wrap in and of itself looked so it's like I should be able to do that for my husband, and the girl next to me should be able to feel like she's doing that for her husband. Why else do they stay with us? But it shouldn't be so hard, you know, and that to me is in the body and in the food. More importantly, in the food, which has been a scientific experiment since the 1960s. Easy. Easy. I said it. Take it easy. When Black women relate to our bodies, our sexuality in ways that place erotic recognition, desire, pleasure, and fulfillment in the center of our efforts to create. I already read that. To do so, we must be willing to transgress traditional boundaries. We must no longer shy away from the critical project of opening, interrogating, and exploring representations of Black female sexuality as they appear everywhere, especially in popular culture. See, and I'm always, again, the one who's like, shut up about it. Sex belongs in the bedroom. I don't mind you looking beautiful for your guy, which means sexual. I don't mind that. My guy's eyes shouldn't be on you just because you decide to cut your whatever all the way down for him, or have a bare back. That shouldn't get my feathers ruffled. My husband, I'm looking sexy for him, right? So I should be able to go out and have a good time and be social. And that was the one thing I loved about being with beautiful women, is that it didn't matter how beautiful you looked. When you were with beautiful women, they were, and I really have been with beautiful women, like not with them, but in relationships, friendships, all of my girlfriends from high school were very beautiful women. I think inside and out. One of them, maybe not so much. Yeah, I'm quite sure one of them, not so much. But I gave her a try as my best friend for, I think, 40 years. So something like that. Anyway, so I give people a chance. That's all I'm saying. And also, as an adult, I would hang with very beautiful women over at the Catholic school. Those moms were MILFs all the way from one end to the other. They were MILFs. And so, and I really liked that I could go out and look my best. And it probably doesn't look as good as half of those women that are out as well with me. And I don't care. They look so good, and it's nice looking at beautiful women. And it's nice that beautiful, powerful women can look really good without feeling like they are a lamb chop. In The Power of Image, Essays on Representation and Sexuality, Annette offers a critical manifesto for feminist thinkers who long to explore gender and representation. In order to challenge dominant representations, it is necessary, first of all, to understand how they work, and thus where to seek points of possible productive transformation. From such understanding flows various politics and practices of oppositional cultural production, among which may be counted feminist interventions. There is another justification for feminist analysis of mainstream images of women. May it not teach us to recognize inconsistencies and contradictions within dominant traditions of representation, to identify points of leverage for our own intervention, cracks and fissures through which may be captured glimpses of what in other circumstance might be possible, visions of a world outside the order not normally seen or thought about. This is certainly the challenge for facing Black women who must confront the old painful representations of our sexuality as a burden we must suffer, representations still haunting the present. We must make the oppositional spaces where our sexuality can be named and represented, where we are sexual subjects, no longer bound and trapped. And that's a thing about it. Nobody has any business naming your sexuality. Nobody has any business naming your sexuality. If you keep it in the bedroom, it doesn't have to be a representation of anything that's haunting or not haunting, of women or feminism or whatever. I'm not saying, again, my dress and the hair that my husband likes to see out there, and high heels if I want to wear them. You know, hopefully I can afford better heels in the winter time so I don't have to have open toes. But there's going to be open toes out there on the dance floor. It doesn't matter. I'm bringing open-toed shoes in the middle of winter to that ballroom you got going on. So I want to look beautiful for my husband. I don't want to be ogled by any other man for whatever reason you have to ogle me. That's all that it is about sexuality, right? That's all that it is, right? And the same thing goes for whatever, you know, I happen to think that there are practical applications of sexuality that don't seem to mesh, but that doesn't matter as far as what goes on inside the bedroom. If what goes on inside your bedroom begins to creep into my peripheral vision because I have a problem, well, that's my problem. If it becomes to creep into my peripheral vision because you have a problem, then we have a problem. I don't know. I don't have a problem. I'm just saying the answer to the question is that it really shouldn't be a point of discussion. Somebody else's sexuality shouldn't be a point of discussion. And if it's on my mind all the time, then it's a point of discussion. If it is prominently displayed in the environment all the time, then it's a point of discussion, right? You know, I mean, but RuPaul is not a point of discussion. Right? So take your sexual ideas and imaginations and romances within good taste wherever you want to go. Right? I don't have to, engage in the same kinds of entertainment that you do anywhere. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. We have just gotten done with chapter 4. We are going into chapter 5. A feminist challenge. Must we call every woman sister? No. Sometimes I call them bitch. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. It is day 291 in the classroom, and we are here, and we were going to be here on New Year's Eve. I wouldn't mind. I've been thinking about a drink lately. I've got some sweetened condensed milk in the refrigerator that's left over from my candy making. And I have to figure out what to do with that candy. And then I also want to make that pork roast. Making another pork roast. Remember I made that on Thanksgiving? It was so delicious. I can't even begin to tell you how good it was. It was so good. So I'm going to try that again. I've made it a few times. So that likely means that I'm wondering about the time on my last one, if I took it off a pause or not. I don't know. I'm recording. I can make it again a second time. I'm not worried about that. I can make it delish again. It is, the key ingredient to me is rosemary, and not like it is overpowering. It shouldn't be overpowering so that it tastes like you're eating a Christmas tree. Dr. Annette Feravich, again, we are here on day 291. Thanks so much for joining me here in the reading room, where you really can learn to read from the classroom and what I've taught you about sounds from our ABC video that we show every morning in the early bird classroom, and by following along with your finger in whatever book we're reading. Right? They're not expensive books. And it's, you know, I just think that they are, you know, not gospel on the level of the Bible, but I do think books are sacred. I absolutely do. There are some words there that when you put them together with some other things that have gone on, you can find some truth, some real truth. I mean, you think about Homer and writing the Iliad and the Odyssey, and speaking very nonchalantly about the neighbor's house, right? And if the neighbor's house looked like this and this and this, and that wasn't the primary part of the story, you would say that's part of what was going on back then. And then to write about what the Grecian era, Greeks, and what was going on. And the library at Athens was burned, I think. We're getting to that in Bookless Classroom. So not a lot would have survived, right? Which was the Alexander Library of Alexander, right? Alexandria. Anyway, we're getting to that. We're not to it yet. We're not to it. I've been wondering about this great library and how those idiots could have burned it. And does Rome have that now? And is that why the Catholic Church is so... Thanks for joining me here in the classroom. Not a good looking face, but it reminds me of my cousins. My cousin, we used to do that kind of evil face all the time. I don't know why it was so prominent, other than, you know, theories I have. Thanks so much for joining me here on day 291 in the classroom. Always working to make your mind, your body, and your spirit healthier. I'm going to go because I forgot all about it. Use that face wash on my face. I didn't put any makeup on, and I washed my face this morning, but I'm just like, you know what? I need something else. And my face wash, which we made on Thursday, and I love it. Look at the recipe. I love it. It wasn't on the video. That's my own recipe for you. Thanks so much for joining me.